Like, how can I make a protein powder that doesn't have what virtually every protein has in there, which is sunflower lecithin, guar gum to make it thick when you mix it in the water. If we could ever figure that out someday, that would be awesome. Well, working very closely with the engineers in the manufacturing process of this cheese company that makes the whey, we were actually able to come up with a new whey protein that nobody uses yet. We'd be the first ones, and we just got the first samples sent, and it has none of those three things in it.
We are about to launch.
What's up, everybody? Truth Not Trends, right here. Liam TAKU Bauer coming to you live from TNT Strength Studio, Oakland, California. This is the podcast that helps you maximize your strength as safely and efficiently as possible. My name is Liam Bauer. I've been a strength coach for 37 years and counting. And today I was happy to have as a guest Matt Owens, part of the powerful team that makes up Power Fit Foods. We had them on once before we had Matt on the show. He developed an amazing product called Power Pucks, which is a high-fat protein and almost zero-carb meal replacement product, which is amazing. It's become a staple in my life. So we had Matt back on because he's been coming out with some other new cool products lately. And I wanted to catch up with him and see how things were going. And I want to tell you that at TNT Strength, we do recommend a high-protein whole food eating plan. And things like this, like the Power Pucks and stuff we're going to talk about today, they're part of my plan every day. And you may want to check them out yourself. Also, if you're building a home gym, I highly recommend the Anata Gym. Anata Gym makes smart gym strength training platforms that are awesome. We have two of them here in our studio. The P1 Max, which is the flagship big boy of the team, and the P1 Lite. And these are programmable strength training platforms that basically replace barbells and dumbbells and allow you to perform almost any exercise you can imagine. They're so compact, you could slide them under your bed, but they can also do things that you could never do with free weights. You could make your negatives heavier automatically. You can change how the weight engages. You can make it feel like you're lifting chains. You can train speed movements. You can do all kinds of cool things, literally with the touch of a button. So check out Anata Gym. And if you're interested, you can use the code TAKU, T-A-K-U, at checkout and get 20% off. So now, without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Matt Owens from Power Fit Foods. Boom, baby. All right, Matt, here he is.
Hey, guys.
Matt Power Puck Owens in the house, back with us once again. It's good to see you, Matt.
Yeah, good to see you guys as well.
And so I wanted to, I've been wanting to bring you back because I know you've been working on different stuff in the background, since we first had you on the show, and you've got those super chews dialed in, and now the bear bars, which is the latest thing, which I'm personally enjoying. But I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper into sort of the whole story. And so what I'm going to do today is just going to ask you, fire off some questions, and then you can just fill in all the good stuff along the way. So, but you can introduce yourself real quick, just for, people who haven't, who may not have seen or heard the first episode. And then I've got a bunch of questions I want to shoot at you, and I know you'll be able to field them easily.
Yeah, of course. My wife and I, about 2 years ago, started a company that we initially called Power Puck, and we're currently changing the name to, or slowly shifting, I should say, the name to Power Fit Foods. We began making a kind of zero or close to zero carb meal replacement bar based mostly with tallow. So it's minimal ingredients is kind of what we try to do in all of our products. And the first Power Pucks are just beef tallow or cacao. You can choose one of those two, protein powder and pork rinds. And the goal with that was to kind of be a meal replacement or snack that wasn't loaded with really seed oils is something that we really try to avoid from all of our products. From there, we then launched what we call Super Chews, and those are really protein-based gummies. They have no fat, no carbs. They're just pure protein. So every calorie that comes in a bag of Super Chews is just from protein. It's about 50% gelatin, 50% whey. And again, that was kind of our healthy approach to a gummy bear for all intents and purposes. But it's pure protein. It doesn't have sugar in it. Doesn't have any high fructose corn syrup or anything like that. And just our kind of solution to helping people get protein in their diet. And then the last product that we recently just launched is the Bear Bar, and that was our kind of take on a protein bar, and how would somebody have made a protein bar 100 years ago versus how they make them today. And for those of you that ever go to the supermarket, you've probably noticed that there's a substantial amount of protein bars there. A lot of them have a whole bunch of ingredients on it that you probably can't pronounce half of. And we kind of thought, like, what's the least amount of ingredients you can use? And there are other companies out there now that sell protein bars, and they brag on their wrappers that, hey, we only use 10 ingredients now or something like that. The least amount you could use is really kind of three things. It's you need a protein source, so a protein powder of some kind. You need a fat to bind it together, and then something to give it sweetness or a flavor. Those are kind of the three minimum ingredients that you need to make a bar. So we thought, let's try to make one with just those. That way it's the least amount of ingredients you can have. We wanted to use beef protein isolate rather than whey, because everybody else uses whey, and we thought beef would be a nice change. We stuck with tallow as the fat base that we wanted to use. And then for the sweetness, you need something that's got the texture like honey, like a syrup, and that helps you turn it into a batter. So we used honey, and those are kind of the three ingredients. It's that plus a dash of salt, and that's what the Bear Bar is. And there's nothing else in it. And it's you can't use any less ingredients than what we're using unless you're just making straight pemmican. So this is basically the most bare bones that you can get, and that's what our original Bear Bar is, that we call it the Honey Bear Bar, because the only flavoring in there comes from honey. The other Bear Bars that we're also working on are no natural flavors at all, and so far we've launched a vanilla, which is again just the same three ingredients as the original Bear Bar. But we actually then crush vanilla beans, organic vanilla beans, and add that in there. So each of the flavored ones would only have one additional ingredient, and that's just the flavor. So it would be, the ones we're working on right now is we got the vanilla bean. We'll have an espresso bean one, cocoa flavor, so just adding organic cocoa powder. And then the last one will be strawberry, is actually pretty good, with just freeze-dried strawberries. So yeah, that's kind of the list of the rundown of the products that we have, and kind of a couple of the new things that are coming. And then you can fire away with your questions. And I also have some other pretty cool stuff we're working on in terms of protein powder that I can get into later.
Yeah, sounds good. And I was thinking, and this was a mistake. I feel like a mistake on my part, because you mentioned it was you and your wife, and I was thinking, I know your wife is actively involved, and I was like, I should have invited both of you, honestly, because I know she's like, she's in there, and I don't want to leave her out. So she should be acknowledged. Clearly, she's part of the team and an important part. And I know she was even the inspiration for the pork rinds in the recipe.
Yep.
In the original.
That's right.
And so ever since I discovered stuff, I'm gonna get into my questions in a second, but just for my own use, like I discovered your stuff and got connected with you, and I've been using them ever since. And I literally eat like some Power Puck like every single day as part of my regular plan. And I love them. It's like so easy for me. And I really have acquired a taste for the tallow and the texture and everything. Like a lot of people, don't necessarily go with it right away. It's different. The cacao kind of feels like that, familiar chocolate bar feeling in your mouth. But I got hooked on the tallow, so I actually prefer it. I've used both extensively, but I actually like the tallow quite a bit. And when the Bear Bars came out, I started using them, and I recently got a bunch, and I on the days I don't eat them every single day, but when I do eat them, what I do is at work, I just leave one in my pocket, and as I walk around training clients and doing stuff, and then whenever I'm ready to eat it, it literally just like melts in my mouth, because it's like my body temperature. It's like the perfect thing. It's so easy. I just literally leave it in my pocket, and when I'm ready for my snack, it's like boom, and just melts there, and it's delicious. So yeah, they're awesome. I'm really enjoying it. But I want to start with kind of way back, sort of like what inspired you to start what is now PowerFit Foods, and kind of what problems were you trying to solve in the health and fitness space?
Yeah, I mean, really, it just came down to we were trying to make some products that just didn't have as many ingredients in it as most products you buy at the store do. We thought, do you need all of this stuff in there to make something palatable? What if we didn't use that stuff and we didn't use the manufactured oils that people use? We used, traditional oils, fats like tallow or cacao butter. And that was kind of our goal, was just to, something that we could eat, we could give to our kids, and, it hit their basic macronutrients that we were targeting, but it didn't have, excess amounts of other chemicals or other seed oils in it that, that we weren't comfortable giving to especially our young kids, and eating ourselves. But that was kind of the goal, was just, and kind of how we've moved through each product that we've worked on so far. It's been like, well, how can we make this in a more simple way?
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you walk me through like the process of what it is or was like creating Power Pucks or your other products? Like, how do you ensure they're nutritious and delicious?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of just R&D in the kitchen. So, once we decide on a new product that we want to try to make, it's I just mess around trying to make a bunch of different variations until I find one that works well and tastes good. And then from there, we try to get input from other people. But each one, like I said before, has kind of a specific goal. Like the Power Puck was more of a meal replacement type product, something super satiating. It's got a lot of fat in it, very little carbs, but very, very high fat. So it provides a lot of longer term energy, but it's also very filling. Not a lot of people I know can eat a whole Power Puck. They try, but
I've never tried to eat a whole one at one time.
Yeah, and they're not very big. They're like 3.5 ounces, and people are but they're very calorie dense. And then with the gummies, it was really, we actually started out with how can we get more protein into people's diets? It wasn't necessarily let's make a gummy bear that's healthy. It was how can we get more protein into people's diets? And then what kind of protein would we want to get? And that's when we were like, well, probably a mixture of collagen and muscle building proteins. And that was kind of what led us to, well, a gummy could solve that, because if we could figure out how to get the whey in there and use the gelatin, that knocks both of those out. And figuring out how to do that is what took a while, but I think we've got it kind of down now. And the Super Chews are pretty good. And then along with the Bear Bar, same thing. Just how can we make a kind of minimalist protein bar that's not outrageously expensive, but also you don't even need a nutrition label. You can just put on the front of the package the 3 ingredients that are in there, and that's it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's sort of as a coach, when I'm working with people like on nutrition stuff, like one of the things I've been doing for years is just, I used to try to teach people how to be a label reader or different things, and then I just kept simplifying it, because I always try to simplify everything. And I got to the point where I said, just pick up any food that you're considering. And when you look at the ingredients, if there's more than like 3 or 4 words, just put it back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you don't even need to read the words or know what they are. If you see a paragraph, just put it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like, this solves that so quickly, right? There's no paragraph. It's like one sentence. And, people are always talking about like Impossible Burgers, right? And I'm like, that has like 50 ingredients in it. Or you could just you could get beef, which has 1 ingredient. And, it's way better for you. There's literally like no doubt. But that's awesome. And, the gummies, just as a side note, like they've been great for a lot of my clients. I've recommended them to people, both to satisfy their protein needs, but also like I've had some clients who are like really into like the gummy bears or whatever. And I said, oh, you can get these things and it'll have a double whammy, right? You'll get off the sugar. You'll fill that protein need, because this would be like a woman looking. I was like, you need more protein anyway. It'll give you a snack. And I remember I was able to test some of the earlier batches, and they've definitely improved in the flavors, the textures, everything. They've just gotten better and better. But I have to say that I recently got some, and I made the mistake myself of carrying those in my pocket all day.
Did they melt?
Yeah, that did not work out well. It was just like a big blob of goo in my. I had to sort of peel it open and like try to chew it off the wrapper.
Yeah, that's funny.
But they are delicious. Don't keep those in your pocket, people. So these days, obviously, we see a lot about obviously low carb lifestyles and stuff, and there's a lot of debate around low carb eating plans. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions people have about low carb eating, and how do you feel like your products fit into a balanced approach?
I mean, that's a nuanced question. I think there's a lot of people that benefit from eating low carbs or no carbs or a very strict diet. But I think a lot of it has to do with the other things they remove from their diet by doing that. Namely kind of the polyunsaturated fats and eliminating those. And then there are some people that just don't respond well to sugar. But the products that we make, we don't have any sugar in the Power Pucks or in the Super Chews. We sweeten those with stevia, but we did use honey in the Bear Bar. And again, the theme of the Bear Bar was how would we have made a protein bar 100 years ago?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we didn't have stevia 100 years ago, but we had beef and we had tallow and we had honey, and so that was kind of what we wanted to use there, just pure natural things that and that was kind of the goal of the Bear Bar. I don't have a problem with eating honey, and I mean some people might, but if you're gonna eat sugar, I think that's the best way to do it is from very natural sources.
Yeah, for sure. So do you feel like you have, a target audience specifically? Like, who do you think benefits the most from, what PowerFit Foods is doing these days? Are they primarily designed for athletes? Do you feel like it's everyday health conscious people or like a mix of both?
It's interesting. We got a lot of athletes that have been coming up out of nowhere, especially with the Power Pucks and the Bear Bars on long runs. I never would have assumed people would have used it for that, but that's what they've been doing. And the other is, we have a lot of people that just, a Power Puck is all you need if you're going on a hike or going to work or something like that. It's very filling and it is easy to carry around in your bag. And, I think that's how a lot of people use it, those two products. And then really the Super Chews are just kind of like a great snack. Our kids love them. They, you can eat it after lunch, before dinner, and it's just 100 calories, 25 grams of protein, and a quick bang for your buck right there. But that's, I think, the way that most people have been using the products.
It's funny, what I do these days. What's my kind of go-to is I have the Power Pucks and I cut them into quarters, and I eat like a quarter of one, and this is going to sound crazy to 99% of the population, but I eat a quarter of a Power Puck and I drink a pint of liquid egg whites. I just drink it straight down. And that's like, that meal is like 60 grams of protein and it's like 500 calories and it's just basically fat and protein. There's like nothing else in it, essentially. And so it's like, it hits a giant bang for my protein needs for the day. It's super easy. The Power Puck, I always enjoy it, like melts in my mouth. It's delicious. And it balances that out. Protein and fats, I think, work better together than when you take protein by itself. So I love that meal. It's like, again, it's like 500 calories. It's like super easy when I'm at work. I'm at work. I get up at 4 a.m. I'm at work all day. I got clients. I got meetings. I can grab that meal and just have it quickly and easily. And I always enjoy it. Like I'm used to it. I have a forgiving palate, perhaps. People think drinking liquid egg whites is kind of weird. But for me, it's like it's one of my go-tos, like during my busy work week.
That's great.
So try it out there, you guys. Be brave. Be brave and try the liquid egg whites. So what about like ingredients integrity? So quality ingredients obviously makes all the difference. You've discussed a little bit about different things that you use and how do you feel they contribute, your choices of ingredients are contributing to people's health and performance. I'm curious too about like, how do you source like the, tallow and good cacao and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's tough. Cacao, there's several people that you can buy just kind of like cold pressed cacao from in bulk. That though has gotten very expensive over the years, or the last really like kind of like 18 months, just due to some supply shortages. But the tallow, we actually there's a local company that we use, and they have contracts with all sorts of farms around here to buy all their suet fat. So they buy all the suet fat from those farms, and then they render that into the tallow, and that's the tallow that we use in our products. And then the other stuff is depends by ingredient, but what we're the whey protein we currently source from a company that uses New Zealand whey, but we, like most companies that use protein powders, we buy it flavored, and that's what we use. And that's actually something cool that we're hopefully going to be announcing shortly. The last 6 months, I've been working very closely with a cheese factory on developing our own type of whey protein. And what's interesting about the whey is virtually all whey protein nowadays that you buy is whey protein isolate. Because of that, the whey protein isolate doesn't it doesn't mix well, and it needs to have basically a seed oil, sunflower lecithin sprayed back on it to make it emulsify in the water. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to try to figure out a way, like, how can I make a protein powder that doesn't have what virtually every protein has in there, which is sunflower lecithin, guar gum to make it thick when you mix it in the water, and then flavoring it with natural flavors. That was kind of my big picture. Like, if we could ever figure that out someday, that would be awesome. Well, working very closely with the engineers and the manufacturing process at this cheese company that makes the whey, we were actually able to come up with a new whey protein that nobody uses yet. We'd be the first ones, and we just got the first samples sent, and it has none of those three things in it. It won't need guar gum, and it's thicker. It's thicker than if you took a normal whey protein and mixed it in milk. It's like that thick without any guar gum or anything else in it. It mixes flawlessly. You could put it in a shaker and shake the hell out of it, and by the time you set it down on the table, the bubbles are all gone. And the way we're going to flavor it is just like we flavor the Bear Bar. We're going to add minus the honey. We're going to use stevia, but then we'll just use cocoa powder for our chocolate flavor, vanilla for vanilla, and strawberry for strawberry. And basically, we will have a whey protein that has 3 ingredients. It'll be like for the chocolate, for instance, it would be the new whey protein that we developed, the organic cocoa powder, and the stevia, and that's it. And
that's awesome.
No protein powder like that exists that I know of on the market. I mean, there's a couple that don't have those things in there, but they don't have the whey that we have, and it mixes not very well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. A couple of things people don't realize about, the whole whey, for hundreds of years, right? Whey has just been a, byproduct of the cheese manufacturing industry, right? And they were just throwing it away like industrial, waste. They were just like dumping it. When somebody figured out, a while back now that, this was a great protein source. And now, 30, 40 years later, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, the protein powder industry. And like you said, they started moving more and more towards these isolates. And it sounds cooler and better, but honestly, in my personal opinion, it's not better than just regular whey concentrate. Like, you don't need to continuously refine it to a higher level to get the benefits. So I don't think people need to waste their time like trying to pay more money for something because it says isolate in the name or whatever, or they make it sound like they did some cooler refinement process. The basic stuff is just as good, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you're, again, keeping to your sort of approach of the super simple.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never thought of actually selling protein powder. I mean, the reason I was trying to make this was to use it in the pucks, the power pucks.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to make it for. And because I didn't think there was a way to make the whey protein mix without the lecithin. At least that's what every single protein powder company will tell you if you call them. So I just figured that wasn't possible. But for the pucks, there is no water. We mix it in oil, so it doesn't need that stuff.
Right.
But then I ended up figuring out how to make it mix in water phenomenally without adding any of the chemicals to it like they do. And so now I think we actually could sell it as a protein powder. I don't know. Maybe we'll sell a couple hundred bags and just see if it's something that people want. But I don't really use protein powder that much now. I just eat stuff with protein in it. But when I used to buy protein all the time, I always looked for something. I was like, I would have loved to have found a protein powder with only 3 ingredients. There was nothing like it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it'll be actually a pretty cool product that maybe some people will be able to take advantage of if they like to make, a shake in the morning or something like that.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about like some of your like challenges and breakthroughs, like what were some of the biggest challenges you guys faced when you're launching the now growing PowerFit Foods? And, also, were there any surprising breakthroughs along the way?
Yeah, I mean, the most challenging thing is manufacturing for the pucks and the super chews. We still do those with our own employees, so we do that ourselves. There's not a co-packer that we can use to help do it in mass quantities. There could be someday for the gummies, but we haven't found one yet. And then for the power pucks, because of very stupid USDA and FDA rules, the power pucks have too much tallow in them. Therefore, they can't be made in a co-packer, which is, hopefully something the administration changes right now. But that is why pretty much nobody uses tallow in products, is because there's a USDA rule that makes it pretty much not cost effective to do that, or at least make it.
Interesting.
Yeah, make it in mass quantities. So those ones, it's always been difficult just to keep up, since we're doing it by hand. But for the Bear Bar, it just so happened that the amount of tallow that I wanted to use was just a hair under the threshold that we could use a normal co-packer for it. So, I mean, the good thing about that is that, they have their mixer is like 60 gallons. And so we can just do like a huge batch at once instead of doing a whole bunch of small batches. It doesn't go through any other, like there's no other processing that happens there. All they do is they just have, like how we would make it by hand, they just have bigger ones. So like the bigger mixer, they have much bigger molds that you can press it all into. And so that's why with the Bear Bars, we can do, we can make like 8,000 a day with those. And that's just, we could do that ourselves, but I'd have to buy all of that equipment right now. And the company's just not big enough to want to, buy all that and bring it in house. But
Sure.
Yeah, but it's also good because the Bear Bars have been selling like crazy. So it's easier to keep up with the volume there and not run out of stock as easily. Mm-hmm.
That's exciting, man. Congratulations. So what about, Power Pucks versus the competition, right? We know the market's flooded with energy snacks and protein bars. And we know, so what do you think sets your pucks apart from the traditional stuff? I mean, we've discussed the minimal ingredients, which is awesome. I think right now, for me, honestly, the fact that it's sort of an in-house small batch thing just adds to the allure, right? Because people like that stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
right, like small batch beers or whatever, right? That's just it makes it almost more chic or hip.
Yeah, no, that's the Power Pucks will always be making it ourselves. We'll just, hopefully at some point be able to buy bigger pieces of equipment to make the bigger batches. But I think what's going to set us apart really is once we get this new protein into the pucks, and then we no longer have natural flavors. We no longer have any lecithins, and we don't have the guar gums in there. Then, there's just nobody else that has that. And there's nobody else that's going to be able to find that kind of protein unless they go through everything I just went through to figure out how to make it ourselves in the face of a whole bunch of people that tell you that it's not possible to make it. So,
right.
It was possible to make it. You just can't talk to the normal companies you would reach out to help you formulate products, because they'll just tell you that it's not. And like I said, I had to go directly to the actual cheese companies to figure out how to actually do it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then that'll make the Power Puck unlike any of the competition, and nobody will be able to come close to it after we do that. The other cool thing, and I'm excited for people to get this because I've sent out some samples of the new Power Pucks to people, is the texture of the tallow Power Pucks is completely different with this new protein. And like the tallow versus cacao, tallow is a little bit more waxy in your mouth. If you've had both, you know that it's like more waxy, whereas cacao is more like a chocolate bar type, like a Hershey's bar type texture. Well, the new protein powder actually makes the tallow. I've been trying to figure out the best way to describe this. Like the waxiness is totally gone. It's not as hard as the cacao, but it's like very creamy is like the best way I can describe it. It's like really creamy. And it was funny. One of the gals that has always ordered a bunch of pucks, I sent her the samples last week, and she called me and she was excited. I wanted her to tell me how much she thought. And she's like, yeah, they're really good. My husband was going to try it, but then I told him that you sent us the cacao samples, and he only likes the tallow one, so he didn't try it. And I was like, that is the tallow. And she was like, that's the tallow? And yeah, it just like, she was like blown away when I told her. I was like, that's awesome. That's the tallow. So I think that'll be really cool too for people to try.
I'm going to look forward to ordering those the next time, because I bought so many last time. I still haven't ran out yet. I still have like a bag of them in my, because I just, like I said, I'm only eating a quarter of a puck a day. So, I don't go through them quite as fast, but as I say, they're like a staple in my eating plan. So it's, I always appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So tell me about, speaking of what you just said, customer feedback. Like, what's the most surprising or impactful feedback you've received from customers? Are there any standout success stories or anything like that?
Yeah, there's all sorts of for each product, and just like a lot of it, like kids who were overweight from not having healthy snacks, and now they eat the Pocket Power Pucks and Super Chews, and then they look a lot better now and have a lot more energy. And diabetic people and the Power Pucks, I always get emails about them and that helping with regulate their blood sugar. The Bear Bars, has been all sorts of feedback since those are so new still, just on people using it for all sorts of different things. And the one funny thing is a bunch of people have been posting about, because you'll see on a box of Bear Bars when you order them, and even on the bag, I write on there, it's best kept frozen. Now you don't have to keep them frozen, but the thing I learned about a protein bar is every protein bar, when you make it, as soon as you make it, it slowly starts to harden over time. And it gets just harder and harder over time. And there's kind of like two ways to slow down that process. And one is you can use this chemical that they call Bar Soft. And it's like 29 letters long, and I have no idea what it is. And
yeah, that's scary.
And I didn't want anything to do with it. And they don't even have to put it on the ingredient label. They just call it natural flavors. So it's in all of those bars that you eat under natural flavors.
Wow.
I didn't want anything to do with that. And then the other thing is they put in various fibers. Like you'll see like tapioca fiber is a popular one. And they put that in there. And that's specifically to also help prolong the hardening process. And, from my point of view, we were trying to keep the ingredients as low as possible. If you have a good protein bar, it's not like people just let it sit on the shelf for 6 months. You're going to eat it. And so my thought was, if people like the product, it's not going to sit there all day. They're going to eat it. And second, again, I talked to the big protein bar companies that manufacture these, and they were just like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So your product isn't going to work. And at that point I was like, well, then I guess I'll just only ship batches fresh the day after we make them, and people have to eat them right away.
Right.
And that's what I was going to do. But then I was like, you know what, this doesn't make any friggin' sense. So I made a batch and I just threw it in the freezer and I let it sit in there for like 3 months. And this is what delayed the launch of the Bear Bar so long. Cause like if you leave it in the pantry after like 6 weeks, it doesn't go bad. It just gets very chewy instead of very soft, like the texture you mentioned already.
Yeah.
But it's not like spoiling or something like that. It's just getting harder. And so I just threw it for like 3 months in the freezer. And I was like, if I left this on the counter for 3 months, it would be very hard at the end of 3 months. And so then I took it out of the freezer after 3 months and put it on the counter for 15 minutes, and it thawed to room temperature, and I touched it and it was just as soft as the day I made it.
Awesome.
I was like, that's it. That's how we're going to solve it. We're just going to say it's a protein bar that if you're going to order a whole bunch of them, then throw the boxes you're not using in the fridge and just keep one box of 8 out at a time. And if, as long as you're going to eat it in the next couple of weeks, it's fine sitting on the counter. But if you want to order 8 boxes of it, then just throw the other ones in the freezer and then take them out when the box you just ate was done. And so I didn't want to use any of those chemicals. And that's why they say keep frozen on there. But I also thought it would be kind of cool because people are like, oh yeah, is that the protein bar that you have to keep frozen because it doesn't have all the crap in it? And so, yeah, but the cool thing that's come out of that I was trying to get to is I never even tried this until last week, but a bunch of people started posting, I couldn't wait for my Bear Bar to thaw because I wanted to eat it so bad. And so I just started eating it like a couple minutes out of the freezer to where you got to like bite it off with your molars. But and I never even tried that, but they were like, I love it. I can't eat it another way now. And so
they actually, they like the harder version.
Well, so I tried it, and it's like, it's different when it's still fresh, but it's hard from being cold. It's hard to describe until you actually try it. Like you got to kind of like snap it off, but then as soon as it gets in your mouth, it like falls apart. It's like, I never would have thought it would have done that until I actually tried it. And I was like, oh man, this is different. I mean, I love it soft because I love that soft, kind of like nougaty texture that it has that no really other protein bars have.
Yeah.
But it's completely different out of the freezer, and it's really good that way too. So that was kind of a cool thing that's popped up over the last like 3 weeks from people just on social media.
Nice. I'm gonna have to try it. I have not put them in the freezer. Like I said, I just keep them in the shelf, but because I leave it in my pocket, it just gets to that really like creamy texture anyway. And then it's just like ready to go. So even as they're getting a little harder, but the way I've been using them, it's like never an issue.
Yeah.
But I'll try the freezer version just as a change of pace for sure. So what about scaling and future plans? So where do you see like PowerFit Foods in the next 5 years? It sounds like we've got the new product of this potential protein powder, which is awesome. Is there anything else in the pipeline?
Nothing that we're actively developing right now. and again, like the protein powder kind of like is an offshoot of just making the new protein powder for the pucks. And, that's, those are kind of the things we're working on now. So we're trying to finish the rebranding. I mean, you've seen the packaging of the Bear Bar.
Yeah.
This is the kind of packaging that we want to get for the other products. And we're working on getting that going. And then the protein powder, I think will be something that we'll test and just see if it's something people want. If they do, then we could look at continuing to sell that as a standalone item. Otherwise, we'll just be using it in the power pucks. But most other companies kind of only stick with one product, and we initially were also one product, but then just this other stuff randomly comes up, and we get feedback from various customers who are like, hey, have you ever thought about a way you could kind of like make a power fit food version of this? And every once in a while they'll say that, and I'll be like, that's actually kind of a good idea, let me try it. And so so it's just I love hearing that kind of feedback from the customers as well. But right now it's just really we're focused on finishing the rebrand and then trying to keep things in stock. That's kind of what we're focused on right now.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
What about have you thought about making like a pure like beef protein powder or some kind of not dairy version?
Yep.
Is that something? Because I see them on the market as well, like companies making a sort of a beef style protein powder, or there's a lot of them out there, right? There's obviously a lot of plant-based ones these days. I've even seen that one called Space Milk. I think it's all made out of like yeast or something like that. Like, they say it's not an animal, it's not a plant,
Yeah, so I can do beef protein, and I don't have any plans right now to make a flavored one right now. But what I can do, and this is something that I probably need to ask just more clients in general, is there is another company that sells a lot of beef protein, and we have the similar protein that we use for the Bear Bars, and I could package and sell that at a what I would call a much more affordable price. And since we do buy the beef protein in bulk for the Bear Bars, I have the ability to do that. I just if it's something customers are interested in, I could definitely go down that road since we have the raw materials to do it. I just that's another thing that I kind of have in my list, but I've been kind of waiting to reach out for feedback from folks. But if they are interested in that, we could do it.
I'm just curious is it possible to make them like with a flavor, like a vanilla flavored beef protein? Is that possible? Would it work? Would the beef and the vanilla like go together in such a way that it was palatable for people? That's something I'm curious about. I don't know. I usually buy protein in either unflavored. If I buy protein powders, I usually get some kind of minimal unflavored, or occasionally vanilla is like my go-to because I like things that are easier to mix in other things if I'm going to do something.
Yes, I think we could. I have not tried it for flavoring it in terms of a shake yet with the beef protein, but I can tell you, and I don't know, have you had the vanilla Bear Bar yet?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the vanilla goes with the beef protein phenomenally.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're right. Now that I think of it, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, they're good. That's what I've been eating the most lately. Those are the ones I have. I bought a box of each of the vanilla ones and the original ones. I got a whole bunch of them. So yeah, I keep them at work, and then I could just grab one off the shelf, throw it in my pocket, walk around, and then when I'm ready for a snack, it's actually become my favorite like after workout snack because I like getting the fat and a little bit of carbs, right after the workout when I just like crushed it.
It's funny back to the origin story of the Bear Bar is my goal when making it was, with Allison was let's try to do it with only 3 ingredients. And like, if we can make it just palatable, we'll probably get people that buy it because of the minimal ingredients.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, when we were done, it's like, it's not only palatable, it's like, it's really good. Like I love them. I eat them all the time because I think they taste delicious. And so, I didn't think that was going to happen. You just think like beef protein, honey and tallow, it's probably not going to be great, but as long as it's not disgusting, people will buy it. And yeah, when we got the recipe finally knocked down, it's like, wow, these actually, the texture, I don't know any other bar that has a texture like this bar.
Yeah.
And then the flavor, those 3 things, I don't know if it's because they're all natural or what, but beef, tallow, and honey just taste great together.
Yeah. I've turned so many of my clients onto your stuff. for various reasons. Some of them are low carb people, as you discussed. Some of them are diabetic people who are just, managing blood sugar. Some of them just looking for the healthy snacks, kind of like you guys, something that they can give to their kids and not feel like they're giving them some crap. So like all those different reasons crop up, but I'm always, and even on social media myself, I'm like working for you guys secretly in the background because every time I see like some other protein bar out there, I go, you should try Bear bars. I jump on there and like, you got 10 ingredients. Check out 4 ingredients over here.
Yeah. It's and I mean, we have a 15-month-old, and she every time she sees one of the Bear bars, she immediately starts whining until we open it up and give it to her. She just loves to sit there and gnaw on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what about your? Let's talk for a minute about your own kind of approach to like nutrition, fitness, all that kind of stuff. So, beyond the products, what these days, what do you feel like are your core beliefs about that stuff? Are you following a specific routine, workout routine, nutrition plan, whatever, anything like that you feel is working well for you? I know we talked a little bit about that in the past, in our last visit.
Yeah, I'll tell you, so I am now probably 18 months into only kind of what you recommended. I only lift 3 times every 14 days, and it takes me about a half hour each time. And that's it. And I definitely didn't lose any strength. I didn't, I feel like I gained strength. I'm working on trying to bulk a little bit more on it, but that's been just a life changer for me, because I spent many, many years leading up to that where I worked out 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year, and every single day. And it was at least 4 days of weights, if not 5 every week. And then 2 or 3 days of running 6 miles the other days. And that's just what it was. For like 5 straight years, I worked out every single day. And it was for about an hour to 90 minutes every single day, whether it was the lifting or the cardio. And when I look back on it, it's like, I spent probably 10 to 12 hours a week working out. And now I spend like 70 minutes. And that alone has been a game changer. I mean, over a year, that basically adds like 3 months of 8-hour work days to my life that I didn't have before. And I will never change from that again. And I really, really wish I would have done that years before.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you're doing it now. That's the most important thing. And you've proven to yourself that it works.
Yes. Yep. And it's awesome. I absolutely love doing it. And I love the time that I save from doing it. And now when it comes to my physique, I really it's more of a nutrition dial in for what my goal is versus I just need to work out more. And so, from a nutrition standpoint, I mean, as we talked before, I love experimenting things, and I measure everything. And I was a hardcore carnivore for almost 2 straight years, where I just ate beef and water. And, I did that for a long time. And now I've actually been doing almost the polar opposite of that for the last, probably 6 months now. I've been eating a large amount of carbs and a lower amount of fat and kind of moderate protein, and just seeing how that affects my body composition, how it really, my goal is seeing if I could increase my thyroid productivity and therefore my metabolism. And so that's kind of like the thing I've been testing. And it's really interesting. It's just, I like to do experiments. And so this is kind of a longer experiment that I've been in the middle of.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the fact that you do that you take the time to track the data and so forth. And it would be nice if a lot more people did that. I'm always telling people like that, whatever their journey is, right, when it comes to health and fitness stuff, like it's like an experiment with an N of 1, right? Like, because it's only you, and that matters really. And you have to learn how to track it. You have to make smart choices. One mistake that people make all the time is they try to change like way too many things at one time, and they don't even have anything dialed to begin with. They have to set a base, right? And then adjust things to see what happens. If they don't have everything dialed initially, and then all of a sudden they change 7 things and then they just randomly decide, oh, it must have been the creatine. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, how do you know? Because you just changed like 7 other things, and you really weren't on a nice set routine to begin with, so Yeah. So I appreciate your approach to that stuff. I've done all that stuff, and I always think of myself as kind of an average guy when it comes to strength, mobility, muscle, whatever. And so I like to use myself as an experiment because whenever I work with my clients, I want to speak from experience. Like I don't like to tell them things without having done it to myself. Like for instance, even like we many of us have probably heard of bulletproof coffee at this point, right? Like the coffee with a lot of fat. I hate coffee. I've never been a coffee guy, but I actually made myself drink bulletproof coffee every day for like 2 years just because I wanted to see how it would affect me. I just and now I can tolerate coffee, but I still don't like it. Like I don't go out to buy a coffee ever. I don't brew coffee at home, but I've learned to be able to tolerate it just because I forced myself to do it, just because I wanted to be able to say, hey, does this work? Does it not? What's it? How does it affect you? And I do that with everything. So I want to be able to say it, because then when I look at my client, when they're in the middle of something, I can go, okay, this is what this feels like. I know exactly what you're going through right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Your thighs are going to start hurting right now, because I've been there, and also with tweaking nutrition, and it's always going to be a personal journey, but that's a hard thing. Most people don't want to take the time to track stuff, even their calories or even basic things. Like we struggle every day with our clients getting enough protein in their nutrition plan. And then they always tell me, oh yeah, I'm getting enough. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Because you're not writing anything down, you're telling yourself you're okay. And then a lot of times when I'll say, write everything down for me for a week. And then they bring it in and I'm like, holy crap, you're getting like 40 grams of protein a day. You know what I mean? Like that's not doing the job.
Yeah. Yep. I see that all the time as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's awesome, and I'm really glad that having that you listened or had an open mind to apply this like lower volume approach, and that it has proven to be successful. Because I use it all the time, obviously with my clients, with myself. I'm at the point now where I do, and this is an approach I've recommended for years, but I'm using myself to do it. So I strength train and do conditioning 3 times every 2 weeks. And I just flip flop. So like week 1, I'd strength on Monday, conditioning on Wednesday, strength on Friday. And the next week, conditioning on Monday, strength on Wednesday, conditioning on Friday. And then, so every 2 weeks, I get 3 of each.
Exactly what I've been doing.
And it's, super sustainable. As you say, I'm in my 60s now. I'm still getting stronger. I'm trying to, when I was younger, I used to squat and deadlift up in the 300-pound range. I'm starting to push back up to that again at 63 years old. So I'm feeling pretty good.
That's awesome.
And it's fun. I'm still enjoying it. And I'm powered by Power Pucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. It's the nutrition thing is very fun to mess around with.
Yeah. And it's it's super important, for people's health, obviously. I'm struggling with my 91-year-old. He's a great guy. He comes into the gym, he works hard, and he's definitely improved quite a bit. But with the nutrition, man, he fights me like tooth and nail. And I've been telling him he needs to eat more protein. So I had him write it down, and he brought in his stuff. And I go, wait a minute, right here it says you eat half an egg. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I said, how do you eat half an egg? And he's like, well, it's hard boiled. So I just cut it in half. And he said I eat half an egg every other day. So I was like, that's like 3 grams of protein, right?
It's like nothing.
So then I talked him into buying like protein shakes, like ready to drink, like protein shakes. And so he's like, okay, I've been drinking half of one of those.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, man, that's not doing it. Like half is not working.
Yeah.
I was
That's
like,
funny.
please start eating whole things.
Yeah.
So any final takeaways? If there's one thing you'd like listeners to walk away with today, what would it be?
Oh man. I would say from a nutrition standpoint, eating more whole foods and less processed is always a winner for everything I've ever experimented with. I would always recommend that for people. Again, that's kind of what we hope our products help people with is, we have ingredients that are all whole foods. And that's what, kind of why we wanted to make them. So hopefully we can help people along that journey because, most people just think it's not convenient. And that's why they eat something that's crappy. And we're trying to make it convenient to not do that. So that's kind of our goal there. And, I would love for your listeners to try our new products, especially the Bear Bar, give us some feedback because it's only been out for a little over a month or two. And we want to know if there's any way we can make it better. If there's any other flavors people think might be good, I'd love to experiment and take the feedback.
Yeah. So you had mentioned the potential with the protein powder of like the the chocolate and the strawberry. Would you be able to do that in like the Bear Bar as well?
Yeah. So the four, I've already made 4 flavor bear bars, and each one of them is just one additional ingredient. And so the vanilla was just the vanilla bean. The espresso will just be espresso beans. The chocolate one will just be cocoa powder. And then the strawberry one is just freeze dried strawberries. And it's, again, you think beef protein, tallow, and honey plus strawberries probably wouldn't be very good, but it's actually really good.
You know what you could do? You could do like the classic like Neapolitan, like sell a box that has like, 2 strawberry, 2 chocolate, 2 vanilla or whatever,
Yeah.
And then they get the nice variety pack. That was my dad's favorite ice cream. He would always get the strawberry chocolate vanilla thing,
That's a good one.
Yeah. So you could sell bars all preset in a nice rainbow of flavors.
Yep. That's the goal. I think we're gonna the espresso one next, and then then we got to decide between chocolate and strawberry. But we're trying to do just kind of one at a time, so we can get everybody's feedback on it to make sure that it's not only me that thinks it's good.
How many flavors of Super Chews now?
Right now we have the peach mango, the passion fruit, and then the sour punch is what we call it. But that's just kind of a sour version. So yeah, that's the three that we have.
I got the sour ones, and I really liked them. I like sour things.
Yeah, me too. There's some people that just love the sour stuff.
But like I said, the last time I made a mistake of leaving it in my pocket, and it was just like a goopy blob. Still tasted good, but just harder to enjoy.
Believe it or not, it's the reason that doesn't happen with gummy bears is because there's so much corn syrup in there.
Yeah.
That keeps that from it helps it keep its shape and not melt as easily.
Yeah, that's frightening. I'm definitely a fan of limiting or removing sugar from people's eating plans.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that you've kind of flip-flopped from the pure carnivore to this higher carb thing. Just for my own curiosity, what are your primary carb choices? Are you sticking with just like the basics, like rice and sweet potatoes and stuff like that, or?
I started with pretty much just simple sugars, so just fruits, maple syrup, and that was kind of the bulk of it. And then the last probably like 4 weeks or 6 weeks, I've been doing boiled potatoes and some rice, or just white rice as well. But that's kind of what I've been trying to do. I don't know. I actually have been getting about 500 grams of carbs a day, and around 130 to 150 grams of protein. And then the fat is what I've been kind of limiting. So my fat's been around like 60 to 80 grams, which is kind of the polar opposite of when I was carnivore. I was like 350 to sometimes 400 grams of protein a day, and no carbs at all. And, either a lot or a little fat, depending on what cuts of meat I was eating that day. So yeah, it's different. But I mean, what I could tell you is that so far anyways, I can eat a lot more calories a day and not gain weight if it's simple sugars than it was eating just ribeyes.
Interesting.
And yeah, so it's like, when I was eating just ribeyes, it was, I was kind of around like 2,400 calories a day, or otherwise I started to gain weight. And I'm consistently like 3,200 right now. And I'm still, I don't fluctuate that much.
And that's interesting. I know for my own self, I've also, and this is something I tell people all the time, like the protein to me is most important, right? Like we all need to get a minimum daily amount to get the most out of, the functioning, especially for, hard working athlete people. But I mean, if you're lifting weights and all that, protein is like it has to be there. So like, one of my colleagues, Bill Campbell, who's another friend and guest who's we've had on the shows, like specializes in like body composition stuff. He's a PhD out of Florida. He likes to use the term protein anchored, right? But what I tell people is like, as long as your protein numbers are dialed in, you can experiment as much as you want with the other two things, right? With the fat and the carbs. But as you were mentioning, if one goes way up, the other one definitely should go down. Like you can't have high carbs and high fat and high protein. But as long as you're staying in the neighborhood, because I used to eat closer to 3,000 calories a day, 2,800 or something, and that was with like brown rice, oatmeal, all the usuals, right, and a nice dose of protein. I would say if I tracked it on a macro scale, it would probably be pretty much like almost isocaloric, like about 33% of each category, if it balanced out, but it was a way more carbs. These days I eat very low carbs. I just enjoy it. I get probably less than 100 grams of carbs a day. Most days it's like 30 to 50 at the most. And then my protein is always up there. I get over 160 grams of protein on a day, usually probably closer to 190. And then the fat is in the middle somewhere. But I stay closer in the like 1600 calorie range. And that seems to keep me right where I want to be. And for me these days, if I keep the high protein, high fat, low carb approach, if I bump my calories up closer to even to around 2000, 2500, I start to gain more weight. So I have to keep it closer to like, dialed in if I want to stay at the numbers I want, body composition wise.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I was just trying to see, like, I know I can gain a lot of weight eating just meat. And so I was now what I'm trying to see is like, can I gain that much weight eating just carbs? Because carbs theoretically should make your thyroid more active, which should then theoretically make your metabolism faster. And I noticed it right away when I was only eating meat. I would have cold hands, cold feet. And that was like one of the first things I noticed when all of a sudden I went to eating a whole bunch of simple sugars every day is like my hands just felt like they were sweating all day long. And now, I'm used to it now, but they were always so cold, but now they're just, they're really warm all day long. And I've definitely noticed, like if I was eating 3,300 calories a day of ribeyes, I know I'd be like 185 pounds and I'm still like 165. And so it's been an interesting experiment so far.
And are you still doing like continuous glucose monitoring, stuff like that?
I don't have that on now, but I wore it for a long time, like we talked before, but I know what it would say. Like it would say my baseline glucose was the highest when I was carnivore. And when I'm sure now with eating the carbs, and as long as you're eating simple carbs, it goes like this, and then it comes back down very fast.
Mm.
If you're eating like complex carbs, like oatmeal is a huge offender of this, and like pasta, those things were the ones where you get this, or for me anyways, I get this big jump in glucose, and it would stay up there for many, many, many hours. So like I think those are the carbs you definitely want to avoid with fat at the same time. With the simple sugars, it doesn't go anywhere near as high, and what it does go up, it comes back down really fast. And I think I think there's some mechanism of the fructose that helps stabilize the blood sugar, is my opinion anyways. And complex carbs don't have fructose; they're all just pure glucose. And so if I still had the CGM, what I would actually test is I would test like eating oatmeal again, something I know that just makes my blood sugar go crazy. And but then at the same, like right after I eat it, have like 2 or 3 tablespoons of honey, and that just adds some fructose in there, and see if that ends up showing a different response than eating just the oatmeal and nothing else, or the pasta and nothing else.
I always used to eat oatmeal with walnuts and pineapples in it.
Yes, I think the pineapples would help mute the blood sugar response.
Yeah, I would do that as my breakfast, and then it was like chicken and brown rice, and then I'd have a potato, and then dinner was always like just green vegetables and fish or steak or something like that. But my carbs were definitely a lot higher.
I still don't eat vegetables, but I eat fruit, and then really kind of white rice and potatoes is kind of the only carbs I've been doing.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome, man. So I really was good to have you back on the show, and it's great to see you and hear you, and I'm glad you're doing well and everybody's thriving.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me, and I hope to hear some feedback from your listeners on the Bear Bar specifically, and let me know what your thoughts are. If there's any other cool flavors you think could be great, I'd love to try it.
I'll let you know when it's getting ready to go live, and I'm also going to put a little blog article up as well, all about our chat.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on today. I'm really glad we caught up. I appreciate you, keep staying in touch and being able to jump on with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for everything.
Say hi to your lovely wife.
I will do that.
And next time, tell her she has to come on the show.
I know. I'd always try to tell her that, but she's camera shy. So we'll see. Maybe we get lucky.
That's right. She can hide. We can turn off the camera.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Truth Not Trends podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us, whatever platform you are on. And also always share these podcasts with a friend. If you want to find out about TNT Strength and training with us live in the studio in Oakland, California, visit our website at www.tntstrength.com. You can also call us right here in the studio, 510-768-5421. If there's a guest you'd love for me to talk to or a topic you want me to dig into, shoot me an email at taku@tntstrength.com. That's TAKU @tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, get rid of that stupid blue Bosu. I saw a great thing on Instagram the other day where this guy was going like, here, I'm going to do this thing, and he was like standing on a Bosu and like doing lunges or whatever. And I was getting all hot under the collar. And then all of a sudden he goes, or I could just get rid of this thing. He like kicks the Bosu and he goes, now I could actually have a good workout. You know what I mean? I was like, yes.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
Hopefully Desmond will make me not sound like too much of an idiot.
Bang, bang, boom.